Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some really fascinating and honestly pretty eye-opening work by psychoanalyst Sara Shadabi. It's called The Body Under Pressure: What Stress Does to High Performers. If you're someone who pushes yourself really hard, constantly striving, this is definitely going to hit home. We're looking at how stress isn't just about the hours you're putting in, but the real, quiet inner conflicts happening right beneath the surface.
Exactly. We really want to bring this theory into the real world. This is about real bodies, real pressure, and real inner conflict. So often we talk about burnout like it's just this simple math problem, like too many hours minus too little sleep equals burnout. But Shadabi's work asks us to look much deeper at the psychological truth our bodies are actually holding on to.
So, ask yourself, is your stress really just about your workload? It's incredibly easy to blame the external stuff, right? The tight deadlines, the endless responsibilities, that overflowing inbox. But for high performers, stress actually comes from the inside just as much as the outside. It's that relentless inner voice saying, I must keep going, or I literally cannot slow down, or, maybe the scariest one, if I stop, I fail. It's this deep, almost hidden conflict between our very human need to just rest and this really profound fear of failure. Okay, so let's move into Section 1, Performance as Your Identity. For a lot of us, the core issue isn't just the pressure itself. It's that pressure and success have actually become our entire sense of self-worth. Right. There's this incredibly powerful unconscious belief driving the whole thing. I am valuable only when I'm useful. I mean, when you say that out loud, you can actually feel the weight of it, can't you? For someone carrying this belief around, performance isn't just a job anymore, it's who they are. And because of that, taking a break isn't just resting, it feels like a literal threat to their identity. Their inner world has convinced them that they're only worthy of love or respect when they are just relentlessly strong. And that feeds right into this next belief. If I fall behind, it means I have failed. This really shows us how harsh that inner world can be. That inner voice, it demands absolute, constant strength 24/7. It's a mindset that basically tells you, hey, you don't have the right to rest until absolutely everything is finished. Which, let's be real, is never. So in this state, being physically tired isn't seen as just a normal biological cue. It's actively judged as a moral weakness. To figure out where all this harshness comes from, we have to look at a psychoanalytic concept called the ego ideal. It's basically an internal image of this perfect, flawless self that never, ever collapses. Now, having an ideal to strive for can obviously be a great thing, but for the high performer, it mutates into something entirely unrealistic and intensely perfectionistic.
Right, and let's talk about what living with that severe inner judge actually feels like day to day. Imagine looking super disciplined and successful to everyone around you, but inside, you are constantly comparing yourself to an absolutely impossible standard. Every single win feels like it's just not quite enough. And worse, anytime you try to relax, it feels like a personal defeat. The outside world is cheering you on, saying keep going, but your inner world is threatening you. If you stop, you're worthless. And that inner voice, it does not clock out.
Which brings us to Section 2, Living Inside Your Defenses. When that inner judge we were just talking about starts demanding way too much, the mind senses danger. This deep internal terror of simply not being enough. And so, it forces us to build walls. To protect against that overwhelming internal danger, the mind relies on some pretty common psychological defenses. These are tools to keep really painful feelings, like shame, anxiety, or inadequacy, totally out of our conscious awareness. Think about rationalization. That's when you tell yourself, well, now isn't the time to rest, I just need to be logical about this project. Or denial. I'm totally fine, I'm just a little tired, it's nothing. Then there's defensive grandiosity, where you somehow convince yourself you can handle way more than any normal human being. And of course, control and compulsive working. It's this idea that if you just stay moving, if you stay incredibly busy all the time, you're never going to have to sit quietly and actually face those feelings. And these defenses aren't inherently bad. Sometimes we absolutely need them just to survive a brutally tough week. But there is a real tragedy that happens over time. Eventually, the person no longer just uses these defenses, they actually begin to live inside them. Constant achievement, rigid responsibility, having to control everything, these become the only ways this person knows how to escape that terrifying fear of an inner collapse. They end up completely trapped in the very armor that was supposed to keep them safe. So, what exactly happens when that armor finally cracks? Let's look at Section 3, The Body Speaks the Truth. Because when those mental defenses run out, and the mind is just completely depleted, the physical body is forced to step onto the stage. Look at the disconnect we have right here. On one side, the person simply cannot bring themselves to say, I am exhausted. So what happens? The body just becomes exhausted. This is a crucial point. The body of the high performer often says what the mind does not allow them to say. Let me repeat that because it's so important. The body of the high performer often says what the mind does not allow them to say. When the mind flat out refuses to admit it's tired, the body bypasses the mind entirely and just enforces the exhaustion. And we see this translation happen with so many different physical symptoms. If the person cannot say, I am angry, the muscles remain tense. So that chronic neck pain you have or that constant shoulder tension, it isn't always just physical. Often, it's literally your body psychologically preparing for a battle, all because your conscious mind has completely suppressed any feeling of anger or frustration.
Or let's think about sleep. The person cannot say, I need to stop, and so sleep becomes disturbed. When a high performer is dealing with insomnia, we're usually not just looking at a biological sleep issue. We're looking at a profound psychological story. It means the mind has essentially lost the ability to turn off its vigilant self-monitoring. Even in the dead of night, the mind is still standing guard, completely terrified of dropping its defenses.
This takes us to our final part. Section 4, listening is not weakness. What actually happens when we finally decide to confront this chronic state of high alert?
Well, it brings us to this really vital, deeply compassionate realization. The body is not the enemy. It detects danger way before the conscious mind even registers it. High performers are so incredibly used to just silencing their symptoms through pure willpower and grit. But those symptoms, the migraines, the digestive issues, the racing heart, they are speaking a psychological truth. They are not signs that your body is betraying you. They're signs that your psyche is finally demanding to be heard.
So we want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question. What if your body is not an obstacle to your success, but actually the messenger of your psychological limits?
It's a massive shift in perspective, isn't it? Recognizing your limits, acknowledging that you're fatigued, and actually listening to your bodily distress, that is not a failure. It really doesn't mean you're weak. It means you are finally stepping into your psychological truth. And honestly, that is the only real foundation for sustainable health.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us for this explainer. Just remember, the body of the high performer is often the place where the mind finally gets permission to tell the truth. Let your body speak, and more importantly, be brave enough to actually listen.